privileges that she has had. If her spiritual experience does not correspond to the advantages that Christ at infinite cost has bestowed on her, if the blessings conferred have not qualified her to do the work entrusted to her, on her will be pronounced the sentence, found wanting. By the light bestowed, the opportunities given, will she be judged. And let me go to the next slide, because this is a long uh, denunciation of Ellen G. White by Christ, actually. So it says here, the heavenly teacher inquired, what stronger delusion can beguile the mind than the pretense that you are building on the right foundation and that God accepts your works, when in reality you are working out many things according to worldly policy and are sinning against Jehovah? Oh, it is a great deception, a fascinating delusion that takes possession of minds. When men knew, who have once known the truth, mistake the form of godliness for the spirit and power thereof, when they suppose that they are rich and increase with goods and in need of nothing, while in reality they are in need of everything. And then continue reading here. Who can truthfully say, our gold is tried in the fire, our garments are unspotted by the world? I saw our instructor pointing to the garments of so-called righteousness, stripping them off. He laid bare the defilement of rottenness and of character. How is the faithful city? Then it says here, he. This is capitalized actually. It's talking about Christ. He said to me, can you not see how they have pretentiously covered up their defilement and rottenness of character? How is the faithful city become a harlot? My Father's house is made a house of merchandise, a place whence the divine presence and glory have departed. For this cause there is weakness and strength is lacking. In other words, the presence of Jehovah was withdrawn from the Adventists. That was in 1903 when they were being denounced a harlot. That's it. The divine presence and glory have departed. But there was actually a condition though. It says here, unless the church, which is now being leavened with her own backsliding, shall repent and be converted, she will eat of the fruit of her own doing until she shall abhor herself. Now that was in 1903. The question is, from 1903 up to the present time, has the church repented? Has the church changed actually? Actually, they changed. That's right. The church changed. Is it from bad to good? Oh no, it's from bad to worse. That's it. Look at this quotations. 1915, when Ellen G. White, before she died, she wrote this actually. Ellen G. White warned the SD Church of what is going to happen after her death. It says here, I am charged to tell our people that do not realize that the devil has this device after device, and he carries them out in ways that they do not expect. I tell you now that when I am laid to rest, great changes will take place. I want the people to know that I warned them fully before my death. So in other words, Ellen G. White, before she died, she actually warned the Adventists that there will be some changes that will take place. And you know what? What were the changes actually that? What were the changes that, from the time she died up to our time? How many changes that happened in the churches? They were members of the. It says they are members of the World Council of Churches. Okay. They became members of the World Council of Churches. These are documented. This can be documented. Okay. Also in 1990, they started doing celebration type of worship. And from 1980 up to the present, they are still celebrating the Easter celebration, Sunday services. And Neil Wilson states that this was March 5, 1981. Page 3 of the Adventist Review, there is another universal, truly Catholic organization that Seventh-day Adventist Church. Now let me try to fast this. Are we hoping the whole church revive? It says here the time will never come. The apostasy, which is developing and increasing and waxing stronger, will continue to do so until the Lord shall descend from heaven with us. In other words, the apostasy will continue. And how is the condition of the church right now? It says here, the facts concerning the real condition of the professed people of God speak more loudly than their profession and make it evident that some power has cut the cable that anchored them to the eternal rock, and that they're drifting away to sea without a chart or compass. In other words, the church is no longer driving the boat to the right direction. They're actually going down, drifting away to sea without a chart or compass. Nobody is actually leading that church. Okay? Now, what will happen? Okay? It says here, what will happen to the church who are church who are boasting of the light that they have? It says here, of those who boast of their light and yet fail to walk in it, Christ says, but I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon, okay, at the day of judgment than for you. And thou, Capernaum, Seventh-day Adventist, who have had great light, which art exalted unto heaven, in point of privilege shalt be brought down to it. Now these are just nominal Seventh-day Adventists. The people today who are not really doing, they're not obeying God. They are just in name only, and that's it. They will be brought down to hell. Okay. Now I have one more slides, two more slides actually. Now, what will happen during the loud cry when the mighty angel, Revelation 18, joins the third angel's message? That means when the mighty angel joins the third angel's message, giving power to the message. In other words, it says here, the light, it says here that the message of the fall of Babylon as given by the second angel's message is repeated. And as when this mighty angel comes down, he repeats the second angel's message with the additional mention of the corruptions which have been entering the churches since 1844. Okay? The work of this angel comes in at the right time to join in the last great work of the third angel's message as it swells to a loud cry. And then it says here, angels were sent to aid the mighty angel from heaven. And I heard voices which seemed to sound everywhere. What is the sound everywhere that is being sounding? Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. In other words, the call is given. There's going to be a call for God's honest children from every nominal churches. And this, it says here, they fearlessly gave the last solemn warning, proclaiming the fall of Babylon and calling upon God's people to come out of her, that they might escape her fearful doom, so that they can escape. So God is actually calling his people so that they will escape from the plagues. And then my last quotations here, okay, actually there's still one more after this. All right. As the churches depart more and more widely from the truth and ally themselves more closely with the world, the time will come when those who fear and honor God can no longer remain in connection with him. In other words, the honest people, when they see apostasy, they will separate themselves. It says here, it will finally result in separation. As the churches practice apostasy, it will finally result in separation. Now, we read this a while ago already, that God is actually calling his people out. Now, what happens if you remain in the nominal churches actually? You want to remain there because you think that, oh no, my church will go through. Even though they will not go through. They will go through, but they will go through hell. Remember, there's only two places that we can end up, to the lake of fire or to heaven. So what happens if the pure unites with the corrupt? Well, he or she becomes corrupt. According to these quotations, you are exhorted to touch not the unclean thing, for in touching this, you will yourself become unclean. It is impossible for you to unite with those who are corrupt and still remain pure. What fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness, and what communion hath light with darkness? And what concord hath Christ with Belial? God and Christ and the heavenly host would have man know that if he unites with a corrupt, he will become corrupt. So those who unite with the corrupt, they will become corrupt. Okay? That's why God is actually calling his people away from all the nominal churches today, because they are just in name only. They're not actually practicing the truth. What happens if the heart of the work becomes corrupt? Do you think all the churches and local will be affected? Now, this question actually comes to me. Yeah, brother, but we are not actually attending those churches that are in apostasy. We are having our own meetings. They're still having their own meetings, but under the umbrella of the same organization. That's it. You are in the same organization. You're still under the umbrella of the General Conference. The General Conference is corrupt. You know, we can actually read that. TM 351, it says the General Conference has been corrupted. So, what happens? Are all the churches will be affected? Yes, it will be affected. It says here, this is actually 40. You can actually read this, the whole paragraph though. If you can read the whole paragraph, would be nice. It says here, if the heart of the work becomes corrupt, the whole church in its various branches and interest is scattered abroad over the face of the earth, suffers in consequence. So if the heart of the work becomes corrupt, now where is the heart of the work? That is in the General Conference. If the General Conference is corrupt, the whole branches, that means all the churches from the US to the Philippines, any local churches, they will be affected. Why? Because they are part of the organization. They are part of the umbrella. Okay? That's why we need to get out of that. Now, what is the call from God to his followers if the churches becomes corrupt? 2 Corinthians 6:17 to 18. Wherefore come out from among them and be separate, said the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, said the Lord Almighty. This is the call. Because God doesn't want, remember, converted and unconverted, they're not supposed to be together. Believers and unbelievers, they're not supposed to be together. Christ and Satan, they are not united. There has to be a distinction between the two. They don't go together.
They could sell you a different platform that.
Okay, so that's why God is actually calling his people out. Now, the last one here, let me just give you this last quotations. This is from Revelation 18, 1 to 5. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. This is the mighty angel of Revelation 18. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and it's become the habitations of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations, you know what our nations represent? Nations represent denominations. We're not talking about country here. We're talking about churches, denominations. For all denominations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Even if you read Isaiah 28 verse 10, for Isaiah 28 verse 8, for all tables are full of vomit. Tables, all the tables are full of vomit. What is the table? Table signify? The table is where you eat your food so that you will have physical strength, right? But in a spiritual, what is the table signifies? The church, because that is where your spiritual is being nourished. But it says there, for all tables are full of vomit, and that there is no clean. That is in Isaiah 28, 8 to 10. And that's why all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornications. And then verse 4, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. This is the final call that God is actually giving us in these last days. And only those who respond to this call will be protected during the plagues. Now, these are only some of the questions that I get here during the week that I'd like to share it to you. And I hope that you learned something. But if you have any questions, though, other than this, we will do that after the prayer. Okay.